The galaxy had always felt vast and dangerous to him, but he had never imagined that one careless mistake could change everything. What began as a routine mission, a simple task aboard a high-security containment station, suddenly spiraled into chaos the moment his hand slipped, a code was mistyped, and the locks keeping the most feared woman in the universe snapped open. She emerged from the shadows like a storm, every movement precise, lethal, and terrifyingly calm, her reputation preceding her, unmatched in combat, ruthless in judgment, and infamous across countless star systems. He froze, realizing too late what he had unleashed, and then her eyes met his sharp and calculating, a dangerous smile spreading across her face as she leaned in and asked the question that would haunt him forever. Which enemy of yours dies first? Panic surged, because he knew the answer mattered, and so did every hesitation. As alarms blared and the containment station erupted into chaos, he understood that survival depended not just on speed, but on reading the mind of a woman who was as cunning as she was deadly, and whose freedom could ignite wars across the galaxy. Chapter 1. The Accidental Release. It was supposed to be a routine mission, a quick inspection of the high-security containment facility housing the galaxy's most dangerous prisoner. The human, overconfident and distracted, pressed a button the wrong way, and alarms screamed through the cold metallic corridors. The locks clicked, the restraints disengaged, and the figure in the shadows emerged, lethal, calm, and impossibly beautiful. She moved with a predator's grace, her reputation preceding her. Countless systems feared her, countless lives lost to her cunning, and now she was free. The human froze, realizing his single mistake had unleashed chaos across the galaxy. Her eyes locked onto his, a calculating smile crossing her face, and she asked, voice soft but deadly, "Which enemy of yours dies first?" Fear coursed through him. Every instinct screamed to run, but he was trapped by proximity and circumstance. The alarms blared, guards panicked, and he understood immediately that the woman before him wasn't just a fugitive, she was a storm, a force unstoppable and unforgiving, and he was now caught in her path. As the facility descended into chaos, the woman moved with unmatched precision, neutralizing guards with swift, merciless efficiency. The human stumbled behind her, trying to process what was happening and survive at the same time. Bullets ricocheted, sirens screamed, and debris fell from the ceiling as the prison's automated defense systems tried in vain to contain her. He witnessed her tactical brilliance and lethal skill, and his fear turned into awe. She paused only once to glance at him, tilting her head, and asked again, "Do you trust me, or are you just terrified?" He wanted to flee, but her gaze held him frozen. Then she tested him, tossing a nearby weapon and nodding for him to fight off a small wave of pursuing guards. Clumsily he tried, barely managing to hold his ground. She smirked, amused by his struggle yet approving his courage. That brief interaction established an uneasy, dangerous partnership. He needed her to survive, and she needed him to navigate the chaotic human world she had just re-entered. Once outside the facility, the human discovered just how feared she truly was. Hollow recordings, wanted posters, and intercepted communications painted a picture of someone who could dismantle entire fleets with strategy and brute force. She moved like a shadow, eliminating threats without hesitation, and every system she touched whispered warnings about her ruthlessness. The human learned that she had been imprisoned not merely for rebellion, but for her uncanny ability to manipulate and dominate galactic politics with intelligence and terror combined. He realized that his survival depended on understanding her motives, predicting her actions, and walking a fine line between fear and alliance. She watched him quietly, testing whether he could handle the truth of her power without flinching, and he noticed her subtle evaluations, her sharp mind assessing not just his usefulness, but his character. Every moment spent near her was a dangerous lesson, one in which he had to learn the rules of a deadly new game, one in which one misstep could end his life and ignite wars across the stars. Their flight from the containment facility triggered a galaxy-wide manhunt. Bounty hunters, mercenaries, and corrupt officials raced through hyperspace, eager to recapture or eliminate the woman who had eluded justice for so long. The human's small ship became their temporary refuge, but he had to quickly adapt to piloting under extreme stress. She guided him, giving minimal instruction, yet precise enough to navigate through asteroid fields, enemy blockades, and trap-laden sectors. Every engagement tested both their skills. He learned improvisation, quick thinking, in the value of trust, while she tested his loyalty, patience, and ability to remain calm under pressure. Along the way, he began to understand her strange code of ethics. She killed without hesitation, but always with purpose. She asked again, "Which enemy of yours dies first?" And he hesitated, realizing that choices made here could have consequences he could never undo. Fear, awe, and respect intertwined as they raced through the galaxy, each moment reinforcing that survival depended on his ability to think faster than her enemies, and faster than she might expect. During a brief stop on a neutral outpost, the human realized he was learning more about her than any military briefing could teach him. She observed the inhabitants with keen interest, scanning for threats or weaknesses. When he tried to speak, she challenged his assumptions, asking difficult questions about morality, loyalty, and personal responsibility. He saw that she tested him constantly, not just for competence, but for character. Together, they faced ambushes, sabotage, and covert attacks, each incident highlighting the deadly precision of her instincts and the fragility of his survival. Despite the danger, moments of unexpected levity emerged. Small jokes, accidental mishaps, and shared meals in dim-lit cantinas that humanized the lethal woman for him. Slowly, he began to see a method behind her madness, realizing that her ruthlessness was paired with careful planning and honor among certain boundaries. The tension between fear and trust became their new dynamic. He needed her for survival, and she, in subtle ways, required his judgment and courage, even if she would never admit vulnerability. Eventually, they encountered one of his potential enemies, a corrupt general who had betrayed countless allies and threatened entire sectors. She turned to him with a cold, calculating gaze, repeating the chilling question, "Which enemy of yours dies first?" The human hesitated, weighing consequences, realizing that her answer could decide not only the general's fate, but the balance of power in the region. With her guidance, he made a decisive choice, and she executed it flawlessly. A lethal demonstration of precision and strategy that left him both terrified and impressed. He watched, heart pounding, as she eliminated the threat in seconds, leaving no room for error or mercy. The incident solidified their unspoken bond. He recognized the gravity of being near someone so dangerous, and she recognized his ability to make critical decisions under pressure. Every step forward carried the weight of potential death, yet their survival depended on unity, calculation, and trust forged in the fires of conflict. As they continued their flight through the galaxy, moments of calm allowed the human to reflect on the strange alliance they had formed. He had expected fear, chaos, and unpredictability, but he also witnessed glimpses of intelligence, honor, and strategy beneath her deadly exterior. She, in turn, began to acknowledge his potential, testing him with small moral dilemmas, relying on him to make choices she would not. Through shared danger and mutual dependence, their relationship evolved from fear-based survival to a cautious respect, with subtle hints of connection and understanding. The human realized that she could be reasoned with, persuaded, and even influenced, but only if he remained intelligent, calm, and decisive. Their combined skills allowed them to survive encounters that would have killed lesser pairs. The galaxy remained a perilous place, yet they had formed an alliance that balanced lethality and logic, fear and respect, danger and strategy. Together, they were stronger than either alone. By the final leg of their journey, the human had accepted the truth. The woman beside him was more than a weapon, more than a legend, more than a threat. She was an unstoppable force, and he was now inseparably tied to her fate. As they reached a temporary haven, she repeated the question one last time, testing his judgment, resolve, and perhaps courage. "Which enemy of yours dies first?" He answered carefully, realizing the galaxy's balance, his own morality, and their survival were all intertwined. She nodded, acknowledging his growth and his influence over her choices. For the first time, he felt a measure of control in this chaos, tempered by the knowledge that the galaxy would never forgive mistakes, and neither would she if he failed. Together, they prepared for the next challenge, an uncertain future filled with danger strategy and deadly alliances, but now bound by trust, mutual respect, and a shared understanding that survival required more than strength. It required brains, courage, and absolute composure. As the temporary calm settled over the galaxy, the human realized the truth he had been running from. His life was no longer his own. The woman beside him, the most dangerous force in the universe, had not only survived because of him. She had chosen to trust him, tested him, and now relied on his judgment as much as he relied on her power. The question she asked, the one that had haunted him since the moment she was freed, still hung in the air. "Which enemy of yours dies first?" But now he understood that survival, strategy, and morality were intertwined, and that their alliance could shape the fate of countless worlds. She studied him with that same deadly calm, and for the first time, he met her gaze with confidence rather than fear. Together, they would face the galaxy's chaos, her enemies, and the inevitable betrayals ahead. The universe had been thrown into motion by one accidental release, and now there was no turning back. They were a force the galaxy would never forget, and neither of them would ever be the same.